Welcome to DriveSpark Coffee Breaks. I'm Vedant Jouhari.
I'm Zack.
And this is a podcast where we'll be speaking about everything in the automobile industry, right from new vehicles, comparisons, and even the funkiest news that you guys see. So for the first episode, we'll be speaking about the RC390 versus the Aprilia RS457, two of the most track-capable 300 to 400cc motorcycles. So let's jump right into this video.
So let's start off by talking about, I would say let's start off with the 390.
Right.
390 has got to be I would say the first main competitor in this space.
Yeah.
The first true 400cc bike that got people attracted to it.
Yep.
And at least in the Indian market.
Yes.
And it has been around now for over a decade since their first launch.
Mm-hmm.
Which I do believe you have their first one.
Of course. Of course.
Beautiful, beautiful bike. But at the end of the day, they've stuck with the same kind of pedigree, which is that single-cylinder engine.
Yes.
And we've just seen Aprilia come in with a two-cylinder, which is the first two-cylinder 400cc bike that we've got at this price range in India.
Yeah. Now, there is always the R3, the Yamaha R3. But then again, we wouldn't really consider that in the 400cc segment with the RC because the RC and the Aprilia are still higher cc 300 to 400cc motorcycles. So I wouldn't say the Aprilia is the only twin cylinder motorcycle in this segment. But then again, the most capable one, probably, because getting a chance to ride the motorcycle around Jouhari, you really got to feel what it had to offer, such as playing with just the electronics. Now, the RC, that's where it lacks. There's no electronics. It has your basic traction control, your basic ABS, but you can't play with anything. Now, however, the Aprilia, on the other hand, has your different levels of traction control you can choose. It has switchable ABS, and the whole fact of it being that twin cylinder, I feel that's what gives it the edge over the RC. But in terms of that pure raw power, the raw feel of an engine, I feel that's where the RC really, really shines in this.
You get to feel it a little more. You get those more vibrations.
Exactly. Exactly, yeah.
But Aprilia is slightly more refined, slightly more composed, slightly more... just that little peak of, let's say, a higher cc, higher caliber, 600cc. It's got a lot more from directly derived.
Yeah, I mean, the RS457 is completely taken the looks from the RS660, right? And it looks beautiful. That's
You see it in person, and especially if it's got a tail tidy and if it's got all the extra fairings taken off. I mean, the demo pieces that Aprilia showed us is
that was
really
unreal,
gorgeous.
yeah. And it's definitely a head turn on the roads. I've seen a few in Bangalore. Oh man, it's beautiful.
I'm still waiting to see them on the streets though.
Yeah?
I haven't seen them in...
You aren't going to miss it though. Trust me on that. If you see it on the streets, your eyes will 100% move towards that motorcycle. Well, one thing I feel where the Aprilia could have done a little better is the pricing. Now, majority of their vehicles, I mean, even the scooters in the market are still higher priced than what you see in the others. Like if you look at the SR150, compare it to your Activa, your Jupiter, the SR150 does come at that higher price point. Now, Aprilia does have all of that going for it, a premium motorcycle brand, it proper Italian sports pedigree, that stuff, right? But launching in the Indian market, they have to also look at the general requirements of customers. Now, the Indian market is growing. It is evolving, especially towards the mid-segment motorcycles and even the 600cc's. If you look at that, right, it is growing. It's not where it is abroad right now,
but it's definitely picking up in the last couple of years.
It's on the way there. It's on the way there. Now, with Aprilia launching the RS457, they've launched something that looks like a 600. They've launched something which has the same features as a 600. And they've launched a very capable engine. Now, that if they are just priced a little more aggressively, now what? The starting price of that is 4.15 lakhs ex-showroom. If we just got that at, let's say, even the 4 lakh mark or the high 3 lakh mark, 390-ish.
Made it a little more justifiable.
Exactly. It would have made it a little more justifiable and would have hit the wider audience as well, right? So, but then again, you're still getting everything from a proper Italian reputed motorcycle brand, right? How much can you really ask them to shave off in terms of pricing? It's not just one motorcycle they've priced like this. They've priced everything in their product range a little more on the higher side. What's the RC price? Around three change?
Yeah, about 316. But at the end of the day, I still think that these two motorcycles are the epitome of the 400cc category right now.
Sure.
If you want a sports bike, you have these two options, and that's about it.
Right.
And obviously, you have the ZX4R, and you have
who's going to pay 8 lakhs
exactly.
or 9 lakhs for a motorcycle?
Sorry, I don't consider that in the same price category. But when you're coming to these two motorcycles, you have the best single cylinder or you have the best twin cylinder.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's personal preference to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And yeah, you do get slightly better performance out of the Aprilia. You do have higher top speed being a twin cylinder. You do get less vibrations. You do get
the engine is way more refined.
You get lower and you get a much better lower end torque. And at the end of the day, they both try to build the best bikes in their space, and they've both done amazingly well. KTM has stuck with this same engine for quite a while. We're still waiting to see if they put in the LC4C into the new generation. When that comes out, that's going to be incredible. But until then, I think that if you are looking for the better motorcycle right now, if you can afford it, if you can put down that money, then the Aprilia is the way to go.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're not losing out on anything picking up on the RC390 either.
I mean, see, now this is where personal preference might come in because I own the RC390. That bike, I feel it comes in lighter than the Aprilia. One, majorly because it has a whole cylinder less, and even the riding posture of the RC, you do feel it to be a little more compact and strained, but with the higher seat height, it definitely benefits the taller riders.
Definitely, and I think that's where the Aprilia benefits the shorter riders actually.
Yeah.
It has a slightly more compact seating position, which makes you, as a shorter rider, might be more comfortable.
Exactly. So, for example, when I rode the new gen RC390 around Curry, because of already riding the previous gen, I understood the ergo really quick. Now, for example, while jumping onto the RS457, I've never ridden any twin-cylinder sports bike. Now, this is the first one I got a chance to ride. And how you said it benefits the shorter rider. Everything is in hand's reach. Now, for me, I'm over 6 foot, and I was more or less upright on the motorcycle. Now, obviously, I didn't have the straight back. I was a little committed because regardless of how tall you are, you will be in a little committed position on that.
And you better be committed if you're going around 30.
For sure. And, but now, the RC, when you keep riding it, you will understand the ergo. However, the Aprilia's ergo is so well set, right? You jump onto the bike, and you're used to it. But that's why I feel it's less of a challenging motorcycle. Now, the twin cylinder setup also, right? If you're, again, see, I can only tell you how the Aprilia performs while riding on track because I've only ridden that motorcycle on track, never in the city. So while taking it around few corners, if I've realized I'm on a gear too high on the bike and I'm really low on the revs, I just need to give it throttle, and it has the power because of the cylinders, because of that few 4 or 5 extra horsepower it's putting out. However, when I rode the RC, you cannot make an error. You cannot make an error. Yeah, okay. In terms of ergo, if your leaning posture or something is wrong, fine, the bike will take it. But in terms of your rev build-up, of how to manage your revs, the RC requires much more precision than the Aprilia.
The throttle input's got to be a lot more controlled.
Exactly.
You've got to be in your power band a lot longer.
Exactly.
And that power band's a lot shorter.
And there's no room for error. Because if you're coming into a slow corner and if you miss, if you're even that 1000 range below your rev limit or your power band, you don't have anything pulling you out of the corner. At that point, you got to rely on yourself straightening out the bike so that the bike can go. However, on the Aprilia, you can come in and fifth gear at 40 kilometers per hour and just punch it. and it's gonna have the power. Okay, fine, it's not gonna give you the peak power, but it's still gonna have something to take you out of it. So, in terms of riding, in terms of uh, how forgiving the motorcycle is, Aprilia has done a beautiful job on the RS457. It comes at a little more expensive price, but then you're still getting everything for that. It's not like they've just launched the expense. It's not like they've just launched the RS457 at this price and given us what we get on the RC. They've still built on that, given us not all the features, but some of the features we've seen on the RS660. We've got the design of the RS660 and the RSV4. So for that, kudos to Aprilia, honestly.
Well, personally speaking, like I've spent a lot of time on the 390. I spent time on mainly the first generation, but at the end of the day, I've had more fun on that bike than I've had on any motorcycle. The kind of confidence that bike has built into me, like coming down. I mean, do you know the kind of confidence that front end gives you?
Oh man,
don't
get me started.
You can lock up on that front brake and the bike will take it.
Yeah.
Come into a tag slapper, let go of the bike will straighten itself out. That bike is built better than most, and that stands and that will continue to stand.
100%.
I do want to see what KTM has in store with the next generation and with the LC4C and see how that holds up against the Aprilia.
I mean, and rumors are saying early 2025 we're going to see the new RC. So
I hope so.
Fingers crossed.
And I hope that we get it here in India as soon as it launches abroad. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I do think that KTM still holds its ground, and
100%.
We do want to see what happens when the next generation is released. But until then, I'm still happy with the 390 and I'm still happy with the Aprilia. Give me either one and I'll take them onto a track. I'll enjoy myself.
Exactly.
So all in all, I hope you guys enjoyed. That was our first time ever here at DriveSpark Coffee Break, and this was our first episode. And do let us know what you would be interested in watching next. I'm Zack.
I'm Vedant Jouhari.
Signing out.